Okay guys, it's May the 17th. We're about 21 minutes after 5. Gonna be starting the steering column repair. So I'm gonna gather some parts up for that and I'll bring you back in just a second. So we have a new horn kit. We have a new spring for the turn signal lever. We also have a new bearing and a new harness. Those are the items that we're going to be putting in. I'm going to start by, there's a small screw here on the bottom of the column that's holding the wires. So I'm going to start by removing that. The steering wheel is already off, so that's good. And let me get that cover removed and then we'll be back. So I've got that cover removed there, and as you can see, the wiring harness just exits out there. This is actually the brake switch here. So we'll get it up out of the way. Now this is going to be the first time I've ever worked on one of these columns. So this video is probably mainly going to be for me for reference to put it all back together. But it may help somebody else out who's working on a 55 Chevy column as well. So let's go ahead and look at the front part of the column. So this is the very first part that you'll see once you take the steering wheel off. The first thing that comes off is a spring. And then from there it looks like a little C-clip down inside there against the bearing. I'm also going to start removing this spring here. These should slide off, and then I should be able to remove this screw here and remove this piece. So that spring just pulled right off of these little guys right here. This was the top one, sitting in there just like that. And this was the bottom one, sitting in there just like that. The next is this little spring apparatus. Let me see if the kit comes with, yeah, the kit comes with a new spring. There's the old spring. And now we can see the screws that we have to remove. That pulls the lever out. Then that pulls that part out. I'm just going to put this back together just like this. That way I can tell I don't get my fasteners mixed up or nothing like that. We can see our signal lever harness here. And it also looks like we have 1, 2, 3 Phillips screws. And this piece should start to come off. We've got a C-clamp here that we'll have to remove for this bearing. Actually, it's just pulling right off. There it is. And I'm putting all this stuff in a little magnetic tray. Okay. There's our new, or our old. This has got a piece of tape on it. That's just got a splice in it. And then there's two Phillips screws here that will remove the harness. There's our harness. I also have to replace this piece because we're doing away with this column shift. So the next piece that would come off would be this retaining ring. It just slides out, has the indents where it goes. There's also this piece that comes out as well. It's actually behind here, just like that. That looks like fun. Fun. I believe we're ready to pull our wiring harness out of the column. But before I do that, I'll have to tape a string to it. And that way I can pull the new wires back down into the column. I think that's the biggest part of this job, is not forgetting to do that. Because if you do, you will not have a good day. So I'll bring you back in just a few. Okay guys, so the bearing that sits right here in the front part of the steering column, I was just able to push it from the back and it just released. Of course the wire goes right up through the centerpiece, so we'll be able to press that back down in there. Now the biggest thing, like I said, somebody had spliced it there, but we should have enough that we'll be able to take it all the way down when we install our new turn signal harness. It looks like it just pushes right into place. It's not really anything you'd have to use a press for or nothing. It just pushes in place. Of course, the biggest thing is just making sure your wire there comes out. Okay guys, we're still working on this steering column, and somewhere along the lines, I don't know if I didn't turn the camera back on or if I lost the footage, but I actually don't have the footage for the most important part of this whole video. So I'm going to show you what I did and we'll reenact it. It's really quite simple, and that's this turn signal harness, getting it out of the column. And some of my spade terminals down at the very end of the harness was in pretty rough shape. So I cut those, and then you want to straighten it as much as you can down there at the bottom of the column, because you're going to pull it through the column. So what I wind up doing is cutting those spades off of there, and that way they wouldn't get hung up anywhere inside the column. And this is just a piece of, we call it mule tape. It's actually for pulling cables and wires. This is just a short piece of scrap that I have that was left over from another job that was going in the trash anyway. It works perfect for this. So I took two of the spades and just run them through the rope there and put some electrical tape over them, and then zoom you guys in, and then I just barely gently started to pull the harness up out of the column, and with the rope coming along with it, it'll pull right out. Now if for some reason it hangs up, you don't want to just pull it. What you'll want to do is take the rope itself on the far end and pull it back until you get rid of whatever it's hanging on. But this one, it didn't hang up at all, and I apologize for not getting that on video, but I will make sure we get the installation on the video, and it's going to be the same process. The only thing is, instead of pulling from the bottom, we'll be pulling from the top. And of course, we got to make sure that we put our turn signal apparatus here through our steering column parts before we start to pull, because otherwise this doesn't fit. It has to go through those parts first, and then we'll pull the excess through the column and we'll be able to hook it up to the main wiring harness. But I apologize for that. That's my fault. I actually lost a lot of footage to this car while I was working. I don't know if I just didn't turn the camera back on, or I don't know what happened, but it sometimes happens to us here on YouTube, and we just got to move forward. So anyway, I'm waiting on the extra parts to be painted for the column, and the owner's son, he's got a paint booth and he's going to be painting those for us. We could paint them, but I can't do it with Project 55 here in the booth, and I don't have anything I can put outside and get it out of the way. So this is kind of got me in a no painting situation right now until we can get this thing going. So that's what we're working on. I think we're about to finish it up, but when I get ready to reinstall this steering column, I'll bring you back. Thank you guys.